Tonight on the GameCritics.com podcast, what we've been playing, we're going to discuss is the new sniper game too violent? And thumbs up, thumbs down, all coming up next on the GameCritics.com podcast, which is starting right now. Welcome to the GameCritics.com podcast, episode 77. That's 27, so it's extra lucky. I'm Dylan Collins, and with me is our fearless leader, Chi Kong Lu.
Hey, how's it going, Dylan? Hey.
I am good. How are you?
Good.
Senior editor of GameCritics.com, Brad Gallaway.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. Mike Bracken, the horror geek, is here.
Good evening.
Good evening. And the Richard Nyack.
Buenos noches.
You're just not doing it now because you know we want it.
Sure.
Okay. At least you're honest. What can I talk about? What we've been playing, we've got a email somebody sent in we're going to discuss as well. And we're going to do thumbs up, thumbs down, so it's going to be a good show. I guess we'll start off with what we've been playing. Brad, I know you have been playing a lot this week.
You know, I have, although it feels like I haven't really been playing all that much. I think the difficulty lies in the quality of what I've been playing. I haven't been enjoying it, and so even though I've been pouring a lot of time into it, it feels like it's been a waste of time. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was Metro 2033. A while ago, I decided to try to chip down my backlog. My backlog is like ridiculous. I posted a list of what I had in my backlog on my blog a while ago, and it was like
brave man.
Like, yeah, I mean, it was seeing it in black and white was like ludicrous. I was almost embarrassed to post it, but I thought, I've got so much shit in my backlog. I need to play some of this stuff. And Metro 2033 was one of the ones that I had heard a lot of critical buzz about, and so I thought, well, I'll give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. So, for those who don't know, Metro 2033 is based off of, I guess, a really super popular series of books in Russia. And what it's about is, I guess it's the nuclear war happens, it's post-apocalyptic, and people survive by going down into the subway system, the metro system. And so all these books are based about, life in the tunnels, what it's like fighting off mutants and looking for fresh water and, falling in love by gaslight or something.
This already
like
sounds
that. So,
awesome.
It does sound kind of awesome, doesn't it?
Does.
Like, it seems kind of cool. I'm a big fan of post-apocalyptic, and so I was like, yeah, okay, this is pretty sweet. I'll give this a shot. And I started up, and I got to say the first maybe 2 or 3 hours I thought were pretty great. Like, I thought they were fantastic. The game starts off really well for me. Really heavy atmosphere, like you feel dirty, and like the people in the tunnels are kind of like malnourished and diseased, and there's rats all over the place. And like you look around, and as the game kind of leads you in a structured way through these beginning environments, like you really get a great feel for the metro tunnels. Like you feel like you're there. And so that was a big thumbs up for me. Also,
it sounds like an underground BioShock. Does that sound kind of right?
There are a lot of...
I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it sounds like that's what they're going for, right?
I think there's a lot of parallels to BioShock, to be honest with you. Not in terms of how complex the combat is. I mean, there's no level up tree and mods or anything like that. But I think the mood and the tone for what they're going for was pretty similar, honestly. So that was the atmosphere was great. The other thing I really liked about the beginning was the pacing. The pacing was very slow and deliberate, and that was great. Like, I don't need a bunch of guns and explosions and killing right off the bat. Like, I don't mind easing into a game as long as it's quality, and going around and talking to a few people and going through these other tunnels and seeing just how life was fabulous. And then when you finally do get to a gunfight, like, it really felt like important and big. Like, I can clearly remember the very first gunfight that I got to, were these bandits in a tunnel, and you had to kind of stealth your way around behind them. I mean, you didn't have to, but I chose to. And they were like at a campfire, and so I was being really sneaky, and I snuck around. And when I finally popped out and let a couple of them have it, like, they were looking the wrong way because they thought I was in front of them instead of behind them. And so it was kind of like chaos for a second, and it all just kind of went down. And I thought, man, that was a really like cool encounter. Like, it really felt like this big serious thing where it wasn't just like, you know, randomly popping dudes in the head and moving on. It felt like it was like important, you know. So that was great. Unfortunately, like after that point, like everything just like completely goes in the toilet and starts swirling downhill. It's just, it gets awful. The biggest thing for me is that the story is bad. It's terrible, and you would think that would not be the case because it's based off of this like best-selling novel. And I assume that the author must have, at some point taken a look at the game and, given his approval or something. But the story just never comes together. I mean, there's a lot of like mystical, metaphysical things that pop up, which I thought was a little bit weird considering how grounded most of the game is. And then you're on this quest to get to this place, but then as you're on your quest, all this other random stuff happens, and it just eventually to me felt like a bunch of scenes that were strung together, but they didn't really have any coherence. I mean, at one point you're in this station that's taken over by Nazis, and so you got to get through that part. That's a really stealth-heavy part, and the stealth isn't really pulled off that well. This other part, you're in like this giant library, and you're supposed to look for this one book, and there's like all these mutant apes that are inside of it.
Now, are these?
And it's just like,
I'm sorry. Are these optional side quests, or is this?
No. This is all the main quest. There's no side quests.
Very linear.
Yeah, it's extremely linear, and that's not a knock. I mean, I think linear can be done really well if it's done well, and it's not really done well here. So, by the time I get to the end, it's like I'm fucking ready for this game to be over. I mean, honestly, it took me about 10 or 12 hours total, and it felt like a 5-hour game that was stuck full of like an extra 5 hours worth of filler. There's too much shooting at the end, the story never comes together, and then when you finally get to the very end, it was like, why does this matter to me? Why is this important? It didn't mean anything, and by the time credits rolled, I was like, dude, fuck this. I will say though that I appreciated the effort. I think there's a lot of potential there. There's a sequel coming later this year called Last Light, which I honestly would be okay to give it another shot if they fixed what I didn't like about it. And one of the most interesting things that I haven't mentioned is that there's actually a karma system in the game, but it's totally hidden. Like, you don't know anything about the karma system at all unless you FAQ it. Like, even when you beat the game, it doesn't tell you anything about it. But there's all these situations in the game where somebody will come up and ask you for some money, and it's like, do you give it to them, yes or no? But there's no indicator. There's no bubble that pops up to say, hey, you earned +1 good karma. Like, there's nothing. You just go through and do it. And like another part, you're supposed to rescue these people, and you don't even really know they're there. But if you go out of your way and rescue them, you get like a bunch of really good karma. If you let them stay where they are, then you get the bad karma. But there's no red glow, blue glow. There's no angel, halo, or devil horns. Nothing. You just do it.
Does it have an effect at all on the end of the game or anything?
It does.
Okay.
It does. And that's where it comes in. There's two endings. A good ending and a bad ending, and like 99.99999% of people who play this are going to get the bad ending first.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really difficult to find those good karma situations. But it sucks because even though I think that's a good system, when you get to the end, it doesn't make sense because I don't want to spoil anything, but like the end doesn't match what I've been doing. Like, I've been trying to play as a really good person, and there's obviously like a choice to be made, but if you get the bad ending, it doesn't even let you make the choice. And so I could tell like this was something that I should have done, but I couldn't do it. And I was like, it just sucked. It left a really bitter taste in my mouth. I didn't like it. There's no way in hell I was going to go back and play that game twice to get the good ending. So, of course, I YouTubed it really quickly and saw what happened.
Mike,
and then
sorry.
Yeah, I'm done. Washed my hands of the whole thing. So
you also played this, Mike, correct?
Yeah, I played this like a year ago when everybody was like all gushing over it that it was this amazing first-person shooter that everyone needed to play, and so I picked it up and played it, and I think I made it about 5 hours in before I just totally quit, and it just was not for me. I agree with Brad. I think the game, the parts I played anyway, have some really good atmosphere, and it's linear, but it wasn't ever a problem, and there were little things like, I know exactly the scene you're talking about where you could sneak around the guys at the campfire, or you could just go in and shoot them head on. So it's linear, but there are little things you can do that are sort of not like constantly etched in stone. You can only do this one way type thing. There's player choice in the game. For me though, I just it just never clicked. It was like the shooting was kind of, and this was supposed to be realistic, and so it kind of felt a little clunky to me, I guess, after playing so many unrealistic shooters. But I found shooting guys wasn't very satisfying. The weapons didn't really engage me in any meaningful way, and just the whole thing was just sort of heavy and ponderous, and I see why people like it, but it just, for me, it just never clicked. I was just really bored by the experience, and for me not to finish something, I mean, I really have to not like it not to finish, and I didn't see the end of the game. So
Speaking of you finishing something, and I know Brad has some iOS titles he wants to talk about, and we'll get back to him in just a second, but I have to ask if you finished Demon Souls.
I did indeed. I finished Demon Souls and immediately started a New Game Plus. And I am playing my New Game Plus, except that now I'm pissed off and might not finish because I had decided I was going to platinum this game. It was going to be my first ever platinum trophy on PlayStation.
Wow. All I gotta say to that is, wow.
This is the one you chose to
This is the one I chose to platinum, and I'm over halfway to the platinum. The problem is I was going through on my second playthrough, and I was going through to get all White World Tendency to do all the White World Tendency stuff. And so I've gone through everything, and I went back to World 5, my favorite, the Valley of Defilement, to do the White World stuff there. And I went, and you can fight, in White World Tendency, you can fight Garland Vinland's Black Phantom form. And I'm like soul level 152, and this guy is just kicking my ass. So I get pissed off and stop playing. And I come back to it last night because I'm like, you know what? I know how to beat this guy. Because he's a phantom now, I can just poison him. I don't have to fight him. I can just poison him over and over and let him die, which is a cheap way to kill him. But I'm pissed. I'm tired of fucking dying on this guy.
Right.
Because I would get him down. I fought him like 6 times, and I had him down to like 10% health or less every time, and then he gets one lucky hit in and one-shots me.
It's like an old school NES frustrating boss battle.
Yeah, he is. So I go back, I'm like, I'm just going to poison this guy, and then I will do the next thing, and then I will go get all Black World Tendency, and do all those things, and I will get those achievements. And I was like, the only achievements that are going to be hard to get are the best weapon from Moonstone and Dark Moonstone, because I've played through and I still haven't gotten a pure Moonstone or a pure Dark Moonstone, so I can't complete those achievements. But so I go back to kill this guy, and now he's not there. The Phantom is gone. And so somebody says to me, oh, yeah, well, the overall world tendency changes sometimes as people play. And I'm like, that's bullshit. So now I'm like, apparently I will have to play through another time to get him in pure white because he's not there, or I will have to sit around and hope Atlas says, hey, we're doing a pure white weekend or something like that. So I can do that, which is really annoying because I was like, I was going to finish a bunch of stuff in this playthrough, and then I was still going to have to do another playthrough because I can't finish everything this time because I screwed up. I need some more stones and stuff, You only get one soul, and you can spend them multiple places. But, I wanted to have all that shit done this time, and I'm not going to get it. So, now I'm like, oh, man, I really want this platinum, but now I don't know if I'm going to actually get it or not. But I have gotten, 60% of the trophies so far. So
wow, that's impressive. Let me ask you real quick though, dude. So you're online connected when you're playing, right?
Right.
Yeah, I've heard some people say that you should unplug if you're going for specific things because that random world will shift you. But the other thing I was going to ask was, are you getting how's the invasion level? Are you getting invaded all the time, or do you notice you help other people, or how's that aspect of it going for you?
I have only been invaded 3 times. And you know what happens? This is really funny, but sometimes I'll be playing and I forget that you're online, and so I'll just stop playing in a safe spot to go get a drink or go to the bathroom or make a sandwich or something, and that's inevitably when I get invaded. Anytime I walk away from this game is when somebody invades and I come back and there's my corpse, You're back at the thing and all your souls are gone, and it's really annoying. Now a guy did come in the other night who had a bunch of shit, and I was in the area, what is it, Stonefang there, and you go back and you go past this guy and there's a bunch of hallways and shit, and I was back in there when he came in, and I hid in one of the rooms, and as soon as he came by, I backstabbed the hell out of him, and it's totally awesome. So I do like that. It's weird though, because like sometimes you're in the mood for somebody to invade you, and other times you're like, dude, I don't want to be invaded. Just leave me alone. I'm trying to get these achievements, you know. So I haven't invaded anyone else, and I still need to do the thing to get the where you play as the boss and the third level as the monk, so you get the head wrap. I haven't gotten that yet, so I still need to do that. But I've been grinding like hell. I'm up to like soul level 152 or 154 or something. So but the game's still challenging even at that level. It's really quite the game. I'm quite taken with it. So I'm hoping Dark Souls is at least sort of as good.
That's an entirely different topic for an entirely different show. That's like a 2-hour conversation there, man.
The more I hear about it, the more I want to play it. At least you beat it. You can say you've beaten it. That's important, I think.
Yes, I have beat it, and I'm really, if I don't stop to do this White World event, I've done all the other pure White World events, but I could beat it again tonight. I mean, I've just got to go through and beat the boss in 1-3 and then do the end at 1-4 and finish. Then I could start another game, but, I was trying to do all this stuff.
Well, Godspeed on getting your platinum, sir.
Thank you. I'll keep working at it, I think.
Richard, what have you been playing lately?
I've actually been playing a couple of games that were also in my backlog. I decided to just, since we're in sort of like the pre-holiday post E3 lull, to just go back and get some stuff that was in my backlog. And by backlog I mean stuff that came out earlier this year that I didn't play. But the first game was Xenoblade, and the reason I started playing that is because I started playing another game that was also in my backlog, which is called Lost Odyssey. I've had a copy of that game for a really long time now, and in a couple of ways, it's actually the only reason I still have my 360 is because I actually wanted to play that, but I never got around to it. And I started playing it, and it just did everything it possibly could to turn me off. I hated all the characters that I saw. The map was confusing. It was just all this ridiculous JRPG baggage that I just have no tolerance for anymore. And I spent 3 hours with that game, and I took it out of my 360 and put it back in the cabinet. Wow. So
we like Lost Odyssey. Brad and I both like it.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
I get what Richard's saying though. Like I actually had a partial conversation with him the other day, and I kind of feel where he's coming from. I don't think he's
like
wrong
all the
for not liking it,
but. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's like I'm not ready to pronounce any sort of critical opinion on it, obviously, but I just don't care enough to pronounce a informed critical opinion on it because it did so much to turn me off in those first 3 hours. So then
is there a JRPG that you do like, Richard? I don't recall.
Oh yeah, I like Chrono Trigger. I like some of the old Final Fantasies. There was Super Mario RPG, which I talked about. I've never been a huge JRPG
Super Mario
guy.
RPG, that kind of doesn't count. And you played Chrono Trigger fairly recently, and that wasn't.
Why doesn't that count?
Oh, it's not a traditional JRPG is what I mean. It's kind of different.
How is it? I don't understand how it's different.
It doesn't. I mean, it is an RPG, but it's not your, emo angst hero boy type of.
It's Square Enix filtered through Nintendo.
Right. Okay. So in that respect, yeah. But I've never been a huge JRPG player. I've never really strayed very far from like the Square Enix line. But I mean, yeah, there's a few that I like. So I've been wanting to play Xenoblade for a while now, and I've actually had it for a few months. I just haven't gotten around to playing it, and I actually really like this game so far. I've been I think I'm about 5 or 6 hours in, which I think the game is like 80 hours to finish it or something like that. But this world is endearing to me. I'm enjoying the characters that I've met so far. The mechanics of this game are very smooth. It does not have that weird JRPG stuff like random battles or save points or any of that crap that I just can't put up with anymore. So that's good. So I mean, it's something. I mean, it's something that's this is what I was in the mood for. So I'm enjoying it very much. The second game that I started playing was Binary Domain, which I bought in the Steam sale. And I actually like this game quite a bit as well. It's a very sophisticated offshoot of Gears of War in a lot of ways. The shooting feels much more satisfying than in Gears of War. At least, I mean, I've only played Gears of War 2, but I mean, it feels more satisfying than in Gears of War 2. And like I said, I'm still early in both of these games, but it feels like there's an actual story here, like an actual sci-fi story. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And it's another game where like the High Tech Robotics Corporation is based in Detroit. And I don't know why all high tech robotics corporations are all based in Detroit in the future. But anyway, that's what I
gotta throw Detroit a bone, man. They're suffering.
Yeah.
I guess those robots that made cars get more sophisticated.
Rise up.
Yeah.
Skynet goes online and GM takes over the world.
It's all coming together. So that's you said Xenoblade?
Yeah, Xenoblade and Binary Domain.
And you would recommend both of those?
Based on the 5 or 6 hours or so I put into them, yes.
All right.
We recommend both of those as well.
You both would recommend them?
Yeah. I know Brad would recommend Binary Domain as well.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic game. That game. I'm actually glad you brought that up, Richard, because I think that one deserved way more love than it got. It did.
Yeah,
it got
sold like 20,000 copies or something ridiculous.
Something incredibly shameful. Like, people out there should have bought this game, and it sucked because a lot of critics who liked it, they were like, yeah, it's pretty good, whatever. Like, nobody really got behind it. Nobody really wanted to talk about it, and I thought it was great. Like, I thought the shooting was great, killing the robots was super satisfying. Like, the story was great. They incorporated actual kind of RPG party members into the shooting. Like, I thought that game kicked ass. I totally agree with you, Richard. That's a really good game, and you, Mike, as well. I love Binary Domain.
It is available for $40 on Steam. So if you're wanting and I guess you could find a used copy.
You can find it on the consoles cheaper, yeah.
Yeah, for $20 or something. Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
One thing I do want to point out is the PC version seems like it could have used a little bit more specialization for the PC's controls, especially on the menus, because it's really strange the way you navigate through menus. Like, you move the mouse and it's as if you're moving the D-pad on the controller, if that makes any sense. There's no cursor for you to just point and click on stuff, which is, I want to, when I have a mouse, I want to point and click on things, and if I don't, that makes me angry.
But I'll just say that if you want to buy two games that were critically loved and totally ignored by the masses for cheap, you buy Binary Domain and you buy Nier, and then you've got two awesome games for $35 total.
Maybe this is our next show, criminally ignored games.
Yeah.
So high praise for Binary Domain. Chi, what have you been playing lately?
Sure, I haven't had a lot of time lately. It's been an unusual amount of disasters here in the New York area, and that keeps me busy at the Red Cross. But whatever spare time I have had, I've kept devoting it to Pokemon Conquest. It's a turn-based strategy RPG, and it's based around Romance of the Three Kingdoms meets Pokemon.
Really?
Yeah, you guys didn't...
I don't keep up with Pokemon.
I don't either. This is fascinating to me.
This sounds like something I might actually play.
Too.
It's actually quite awesome. I mean, it's got a few quirks to it. I mean, on paper, the idea of sort of feudal warlords fighting over an area called in what's the region in Pokemon World? I forget what the overall, but it's called Ransei, I think, and which sort of looks like Japan. Well, it doesn't look like Japan, but it's again the whole feudal warlord aspect of it, and of course each warlord is armed with a Pokemon. And what was disappointing at first was that
I'm sorry, just listen to that sentence.
I know.
Each warlord was armed with a Pokemon.
I'm just trying not to crack up over here.
But you know what? A lot of times these crazy ideas work, and for the most part, this one does work. One thing that I had to get over was the fact that I love Romance of the Three Kingdoms because I love the idea of just commanding these armies of tens of thousands of soldiers, and I thought there was going to be some element to that where there was going to be hordes and armies of soldiers, but unfortunately not. I mean, when they talk about a war, it's basically 6-on-6. Each warlord with their Pokemon versus the other 6. So it's not that complex at the end of the day. But it is a turn-based strategy game, and as far as people wanting a deeper experience with their JRPGs, this turn-based strategy is usually the way to go, and it's no different here, So, and when you fuse it with with all the Pokemon strategy, it all works out really great. Each Pokemon only has one attack, and they have different patterns and different moves and quirks to each move that you have to kind of figure out and in time and work. How complement each of your squad in essence. It's really, like I said, more like a squad as opposed to like an army versus an army.
So is the actual fighting, is it similar to Pokemon fighting, or is it different?
No, it's more like, the not Suikoden, more like the Vandal Hearts and the, what's the square one? Tactics.
Tactics or
Yeah, Final
something.
Fantasy Tactics. Yeah. Yeah, more along those lines, except for you're using Pokemon. But the other aspects of the Pokemon that do come through that make it also more interesting is that the Pokemons do evolve after a certain amount of battles and a certain amount of nurturing and that sort of thing. And that's where it's really different from the Pokemon experience. It brings in that whole Romance of Three Kingdoms element where you're sort of this overarching warlord, and you have to recruit other warlords into your camp, and then, like I said, evolve the Pokemon as you go along. It's a little bit more like Romance of the Three Kingdoms light in that you don't have to woo them over a favor. You basically just have to beat them in a battle in a certain way, and then they'll be willing to join your camp.
Are there a large number of Pokemon in the game?
There are. I mean, I don't know if it's quite the whole thing, but it certainly feels like more or less the whole thing. I mean, all the recent ones that have been, in all the rounds, and more or less all the classic ones as well as the legendary ones, are all there.
Huh.
So, and to top it off, the anime character designs are some of the best I've seen in a really long time, which is kind of weird because, you figure, anime designs are pretty tired and hard to, good ones are hard to come by, these days. But for some reason, they just really, the cute girls are cute, the, sexy girls are sexy, and, the dark brooding types are exactly kind of like how you would envision them. It's just really well done. I'm really surprised. They just feel like they have a lot of life and personality, good artwork to it. So overall, and then there's a lot of content as well because you sort of, once you beat the main sort of first quest, it opens up like all these other scenarios, and it's going to take me a really long time to beat. So, and it's been keeping me busy. I don't know if it's one of those games that I'll sort of get bored of it before I finish it and maybe not finish it, but right now it's still keeping me busy.
And this is for 3DS?
It's actually for just the DS, but I'm
Okay.
playing it on my 3DS, yeah.
It sounds cool. It sounds like it might be worth looking at. I like that.
Yep.
Brad, sorry. You have been playing a bunch of iOS games.
Oh, yeah. In addition to Metro 2033, which we mentioned at the top of the show, just a quick shout out to a couple games I've been playing and enjoying recently. So these are all good ones.
Okay.
Rune Raiders is one I just started a couple days ago, and it like instantly hooked me. And just stepping back from this for a second, I gotta say, as someone who was really leery of the iPhone and the App Store and all that stuff before I got a phone, I gotta say it really is. There's a lot of really good games on the iPhone. They're not all crap like I kind of thought they would be. And I mean, there's plenty of crap. There's tons of crap. There's mountains of crap. But like, there's lots of really good games. And I've just been really pleasantly surprised when I find something that really is designed well for the touchscreen and is great for pick up and play. There's a lot of really good stuff. I can easily see why so many parents are choosing to go like iPhone rather than get like the PSP or the Vita or the DS or something. I mean, that's a topic for the show, but I just got to say, like in general, I've been really satisfied with a lot of the games I've found on iOS so far.
I think
so anyway,
just to jump onto that, Brad, I think you jumped on at a good time. I think even when like the original Infinity Blade came out, which was supposed to be heralded as like the the next generation of iOS gaming, that I think was still a little behind. Like that wasn't still quite up to par with me. And then the games after that, like even a year after that, I think really there's sort of a marked difference in my mind.
That could be. I mean, like you said, I came to the iPhone relatively late in its cycle, so I'm pretty new. I'm playing a lot of games that people said, "Oh yeah, I played that like a year ago," and I'm still, I'm cherry picking the best of the best, basically, which is, the benefit of coming to a console like late in it, or a phone, I guess, late in its life. But yeah, I've just been playing like good game after good game after good game after good game, and I'm really happy with it. I mean, I definitely take it with me everywhere I go, and I haven't touched my Vita like literally like since 2 weeks after I bought it, and I'm kind of like looking at the Vita going, dude, I could have bought 250 iPhone games with that thing. Yeah, so anyway, so enough of that. But so the first one I want to give a shout out to really quickly is Rune Raiders. This is a game, it's really hard to describe, and actually that's kind of true of a lot of iPhone games. I find it really hard to describe them because there's kind of this own little subculture going, and you can compare them to other iPhone games, but to compare them to something like else is a little difficult. But anyway, Rune Raiders is kind of like a strategy RPG, but it plays in almost real time, and what you do is you have these tiles, and each tile represents a different class of character. There's like a ninja, there's like a warrior, there's a healer, and so forth, like usual fantasy tropes. And so you pick and choose from this pool of them, and then you assemble them in certain formations on this board, and the board scrolls. So it's almost like if you're looking top down on a group of people walking. That's kind of what it plays out like. And these other enemies come down at you from the top, and you have to like rearrange your party in different formations to kind of effectively deal with the enemies. Like, the dragons can shoot fire in like 3 directions, and so you want to kind of go around to the side, or like the minotaurs will kill anybody instantly if you're directly under them, so you got to get behind or flank them and that kind of thing. So it's really simple, and you can learn it in like a minute, but I've been really happy with it. I mean, it's really clean, simple graphics, it's quick to play, it doesn't quite feel like anything else I've played in a while, so I'm really liking Rune Raiders quite a bit. The second one I want to give a shout out to is Zombie HQ. This one is actually by Rebellion, and they've done a couple other games for consoles, and one of which we are about to talk about in just a few minutes. But Zombie HQ is it's a third-person top-down. You play like a survivor of the zombie apocalypse. You've got this hideout on top of a roof, and people radio to you and say, hey, man, we need help to do XYZ. Like, we need to save these survivors over on this block, or we need to patch up the barricades over on this block. So you pick and choose your missions. You go down, and it's just like kind of looks like a run and gun type of thing. And you just blow away zombies and collect money and level up your equipment and save survivors. And that's pretty much it. Like, it's simple, but it's really well done for the iPhone. It controls really well because there's an auto aim function, which really works great. Like, I don't have a problem with that at all. And if you like playing dress up with your character, there's a fairly good amount of stuff to buy and pick and choose. So it's great to pick up and go, and you can jump in, kill a few zombies, jump out. You don't feel like you miss anything. It's really good. There's only a couple downsides. One of the downsides is that it's one of those games where, and this blows me away. Like the fact that this exists on iPhone blows me away. But like, it's one of those games where they assume that their game is so good that you're gonna want to pay money if they want you to, if you don't want to wait to play it. So you can play a certain amount, and then once you play, the game forces you to wait, and so you can either wait, like most of the time, it's like a real time, like 15 minutes, or you can say, oh, I'm going to pay this money and just keep playing. So it seems to be like a little arrogant on the part of the developers, but they are certainly not the only ones who are guilty of this. I mean, I think Tiny Tower was probably the first one.
That sounds like the worst fucking thing ever.
It is. It's like awful. A Facebook game. So awful. It's what's that?
It sounds like a Facebook game.
I think there's elements of that to it, but it's kind of like the thing where, yeah, it's like, you play, I used up all my points, but I want to play some more, so here's $1, and I'm like, fuck that. Like, I haven't put a cent into this game at all. It's free to play, but you can buy, unlocks and stuff like that. But it's really frustrating because the game has 2 different currencies. There's green currency, and then there's like gold currency. You can earn both of it in the missions, but the gold is like way harder to come by, and of course, like, all the best equipment is gold. So if you don't want to grind for like 50 years, then you're going to be tempted to like put a couple bucks in, real bucks, to get some more gold to unlock some of the stuff. I'm not down with that. And honestly, if they had stripped out like all the bullshit about the waiting and the 2 different currencies, like, this would be like a great game. I would be happy to pay like $2, $3, $4, $5 for this just as a straight up purchase, and just play. Like, it's fun enough and it's solid enough to play. So kind of disappointing, but still a recommend for sure.
So let me ask you. So you had to buy this game. You paid for it?
No, it was free. I think
it was free. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if I pay money for a game and then they want me to pay to continue to play it, that's crazy talk.
I'm always interested on how much they're making as opposed to if they had just charged $5 or something, if they'd be making more. That stuff always fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good question because, I mean, like I said, I haven't put a single dollar into this because, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, it's like, if I get one of these games that costs like 99 cents or something, and then some of the content is locked, that you either have to buy or you pay to avoid the grinding. If what you get off the bat is good, like if I feel like this is a really good game, I feel like I got a pretty decent amount of content. If I feel like respected as a player, I'm way more inclined to give them an extra couple bucks to keep the game going.
Yeah.
But if it's one of these things where it's like everything's behind a paywall right from the get-go, I'm like, fuck you, dude. I'm not paying you anything,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like you, Brad. Even if the game is free, I have yet to put in a single dollar on any game that requires me to sort of put in money to get like an upgrade or something. It's just something that bothers me.
It seems
I just
underhanded.
can't do it. Yeah, it's and Dylan, you brought up last show about League of Legends, how you sort of voluntarily buy those skins as just sort of like it's almost like an honor system, really, and I'd almost prefer that. But yeah, the idea that you have to sort of unlock gameplay elements, it just doesn't sit right with me, and I just don't. Yeah, I'm not into.
I think if you like a game and it's fun to play and they're treating you well and they're not forcing you to buy anything, like I wouldn't mind putting money in if it's a free to play game. But if they're trying to force you to buy things, that just irritates me.
Yeah, I totally agree. So Zombie HQ is pretty good. I don't think it quite cleared like that level of respect to where I would be okay to put some money into it. I think that's kind of on the irritating side, but the core gameplay is still really good. And for a free game, if you don't mind waiting every 15 minutes, it's fun to play. I mean, for me, like if I'm at work or something, I don't even notice the wait because I play and then I got to do something and then I come back and then my time is up. So it kind of works out. But anyway, one last one real quickly is called Alexandria Blood Show. I've been talking about this one a little bit on Twitter. It's put out by Sega, actually, so one of the larger houses, and it's a lot like Plants vs. Zombies if the plants were Egyptians and the zombies were Greeks. So basically kind of the same thing, but imagine that, and then you add in like a collectible card game system where the soldiers that you use on your team are actually cards that you have to collect. I think the core game system is great. I really love it. The art style, it looks like hieroglyphics and like Greek cultural art from like the vases and stuff. So like visually it's very appealing, and the play is really fun. It's really strategic. It's a good mix of turn-based and real-time. So I think that's nice. But the downside is that for a game that uses a collectible card game structure, you only get one card for winning or losing a match. And if you want to build a good deck, it takes you a fucking long time if you go one by one. Yeah, it's like, and plus it's random. Like you get doubles and triples and quadruples of cards that you're not even using, right? So like, of course, here's the downside. If you want to get more cards more quickly, real money.
Pay.
Exactly. And to be honest, this is one of those games where I feel like the core game is good enough that I wouldn't mind putting money in, except Sega got really fucking greedy with the in-app purchases, and so it's like for 3 cards, it's like $2 real.
Oh wow!
And then and if you want to get like 5 cards, then it's like $8 or something like that. And if you want the rare cards, then that's like $9 for 3. But you don't even know what you're getting because it's random.
That's more than like legit like cards in real life.
Yeah, and it's not a free game. That game I think costs $5.
That's ridiculous.
So it's like the cards you buy cost more than the actual game itself, and it's like, dude, this economy is completely fucked up. So I'm not down with that at all, and it kind of irritates the shit out of me. But honestly, the game is really good, and I do enjoy it. So again, it's one of those that I haven't put any real money into, but I'm kind of just playing the free side of it. So
anything CCG, I'm like way into. So I'm afraid if I ever played this, I would plunk money down. I'm sure I would. So I have to stay away.
I'm sad to hear, Brad, that normally when these games charge an extra fee for upgrades and things like that, the games usually suck in general anyway. So I'm sorry to hear that now some of these good games are doing the same thing.
Dude, I know. If they were bad, I'd be like, fuck you, delete, whatever, be done. But some of these games are actually genuinely good, and it breaks my heart to see that they get like so greedy. I mean, they got to make a buck, and I'm not saying that people can't profit, but some of this stuff just seems like too much, man.
Yeah, the pricing on, I don't know who's doing the pricing on some of these. It's bizarre. And I don't even know that in 10 years from now, this kind of thing is going to be a viable model for making money.
Well, they're still trying to figure it out. I mean, that's one of the good things about the iOS platform is that the pricing structure is all across the board. But then the bad side of that is you get some crazy whacked out ideas of what people think they should be charging also.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, honestly, for example, with Blood Show, if they had said 99 cents for like, 10 cards or something. Like, considering how the game plays, I'd be like, oh, that's a really good value. Sure, I'll buy 5 at that price, and they'll get an extra $5. But they skew it so hard. Like, I don't give them anything. It's like, wouldn't you rather get something rather than nothing? I don't know. I mean, I'd be really curious to see how much they actually make off of that.
Yeah, that's a fascinating topic I'd like to get in depth with sometime. But we are going to take a break, and we are going to come back with this email. It's about Sniper Elite V2. So stay with us. We are back, and earlier this week we got an email that we're going to read and then we're going to discuss. It's from Jeroen from the Netherlands. He says, I am a fan of sniper action like the kind featured in Metal Gear Solid. I would have liked Sniper Elite V2 very much, but they put in a sickening kill cam where you can see the most disgusting damage being done to organs by your bullets. I love sniper games, but don't you agree that this is just a bit sick? I am not a pro-censorship kind of person, but just because there is a market for it, like there is for kids porn, doesn't mean that the market should always deliver. There are certain moral rules about what should and should not be considered appropriate, acceptable, and fun. When is a game, and when does it become, well, disturbing sick shit? I mean, where's the line here? Fun and enjoyment is the argument for letting these games exist. Everyone should decide for themselves? Nope, because if that's the principle, then why forbid games where children are sexually abused? I bet that there are people that would enjoy that or think that it's, quote, fun, end quote. The, quote, fun, end quote, argument would mean that abuse of children in a virtual games world could and should be allowed since it's not happening to real people. Games like Manhunt and Sniper Elite V2 should be forbidden or adjusted because they fulfill the pleasures of sick minds, and just because it's a virtual reality doesn't make it less bad, less damaging, or less potentially dangerous. I never thought I would be on this side. I am honestly pretty liberal, even for Dutch standards, where freedom of speech is a biggie, but there must be a line somewhere. My main point is, why show torture porn? What good can come of it? And I'm just going to open it up now to anybody. Brad, do you want to start on this one?
Sure. So there's a lot. There's like tons of issues in that email. That's a pretty huge, broad email. So maybe a good place for us to start would just be for us to talk about our own personal takes on, I guess let's begin with like the graphic. That seems like a big thing for him. He says torture porn. He uses, the examples of Manhunt and Sniper V2 and all that. So maybe we should just kind of go around the horn here and talk about what's a good level of violence for each one of us, perhaps.
Right.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So it's interesting that he brings up Sniper Elite V2 because, as luck would have it, and it truly was luck, it actually came in from GameFly like a day after we got this email.
Okay, so you've played it.
Oh, hey. Yeah, I actually just played it yesterday for the first time. I went through the first 2.5 levels or so. And I got to say, I actually think it's pretty fun. I think it's a pretty good game. So there's plenty of videos on YouTube and stuff like that for anybody who hasn't seen this game. But the thing about this game is, you play a sniper, and when you do, the hold the breath, slow motion shots, it cuts away to all these incredibly graphic, bullets plowing through skulls. And I even saw a shot today where somebody took a shot from a roof and it went through a guy's balls. It showed the individual testicles inside his sack.
Oh, wow.
And then the bullet went straight through both of his testicles.
Wow.
It was kind of funny, man. I kind of laughed at it, and I didn't think it was a big deal. So for me, clearly, I think I'm okay with a really high level of graphic violence. I don't want that all the time.
Brad, let me just comment in terms of I just saw a video of it. It doesn't look like a realistic depiction. It almost, like you said, it looks funny because the depiction is almost comical, right? I mean, right?
I mean, it's the graphics are realistic. I mean, they don't look like cartoon characters, but yeah, like a bullet goes through a guy, and the game kind of like does like an X-ray shot, so you see
right,
like.
But that X-ray shot looks like a sort of a medical illustration. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like a photorealistic image of what's going on inside of a body. Is my point.
I think it was purposely
that's
trying to be over the top. It was kind of like that's in Fallout 3 or like a Tarantino movie. Like I think it's supposed to be over the top.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think some of that stuff is pretty crazy. I mean, there's even like an achievement for shooting a guy like directly in the eyeball and stuff like that. So I think the developers know that they're making a sniper game, and they pretty much know that if you're going to play a sniper game, you probably want to snipe the hell out of stuff, and it's fun to snipe. I mean, to be honest, as I was playing through this, I find myself a really tall perch, and I shot this VIP guy getting out of a van or something, and I was like, yeah, I got him, like it was like this awesome shot from like a mile away, and I was all happy that I made it, and I was having a good time with the game. I mean, it's pretty low calorie. It's nothing that's going to really make you question the human condition, but it's fun for what it is, and the game knows what it is. It knows it is a sniper game, so it delivers.
So you're okay with a large level of violence?
Yeah, if it's appropriate. Like in this game, I think it's great. I mean, like, and I was just about to say, like, I don't want it in every game. Like, I don't think every single game should have, these, gratuitous kill shots and stuff like that. I mean, I'm fine with a variety, and as long as it's appropriate, in my perspective. I mean, of course, there's that whole discussion of what's appropriate, but for me, I'm getting into a game called Sniper Elite. I expect to snipe. If I see dudes' heads exploding, I'm okay with that in this instance. So I'm okay.
What about you? Where's your level?
I kind of relate a lot to the listener in terms of the way he ended his email because, yeah, I'm fairly liberal in general, and there was a time, and I started my web design career at the Anti-Defamation League, right? And they're all about the freedom of speech, and as such, they sort of accept the fact that these neo-Nazis are gonna spew the most racist, hateful stuff that you can imagine, and you sort of on some level have to accept that, right? And that even influenced, when I created GameCritics.com, I was incredibly, forgiving of what people would say, just because I sort of took the lessons I learned from the ADL and sort of applied it there. But I gotta say, as I've gotten older, it's been harder and harder for me to sort of put those things to the test, and I find myself with a lower and lower amount of tolerance. I mean, for example, films like Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door, and films like Irreversible, and Serbian Movie. I just, there was a time where I think I could have stomached stuff like that. These days, I don't think I can. And I'm having a harder and harder time. While I understand that there's that it's a part of freedom of speech, personally, I'm having a harder and harder time, finding the artistic and any kind of value out of it, really. So in terms of what I've seen in games, there isn't really anything I've ever seen that I found disturbing. Granted, I haven't played Amnesia because I just can't stomach, the scare tactics and things like that. I'm just very soft that way in some ways. So I haven't played games like Amnesia and things like that. But but there's never been anything along the lines of the films that I've mentioned that I've seen in video games that have ever given me a degree of pause. So I would say, as of right now, in terms of what we've seen in games like God of War, where it's just like ripping off Minotaur heads and that sort of stuff, I think it's silly. I'm not big on it these days because, like I said, I just find myself, maybe I'm just getting too old for this shit kind of a thing.
Right.
But I'm okay with it. But once it starts getting into like areas where, like, now we're seeing stuff like with Tomb Raider, it's getting harder and harder for me to sort of define these lines. It's getting very kind of gray for me.
What about you, Richard? What are your thoughts?
My tolerance for violence in terms of like just blood and gore is generally pretty high. It really doesn't bother me in most contexts. However, what tends to bother me more is tone, more so than gore, because something like, I mean, as we've discussed before, I am not a horror person. Amnesia just freaked the living fuck out of me. Like, I think that game completely terrified me. And I can't, what I cannot do is I cannot watch people being tortured
Right.
or people like in abject pain, like that just turns me off. Like I can watch like, you know, a bomb drop on a whole bunch of people and just blowing them all to pieces. Like that doesn't bother me at all. But if I watch like a dude like getting his fingers slowly chopped off and like him screaming throughout the whole thing, that freaks me the hell out. So
I'm wincing even as you're saying that.
yeah, so it's like graphic violence itself, I'm fine with. I can have fun with that. But I mean, you know, something like Manhunt where it's like this, you know, really brutal death where it's like, you know, you're putting a bag over a dude's head and just like punching him to death as he's screaming. That I can't handle.
Mike, I don't even think we need to ask, but what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, first off, I want to say to Chi, you see nothing redeeming in a film like Irreversible or The Girl Next Door?
Hard to say. Irreversible, both of them very tough calls. I mean, especially with The Girl Next Door, since those are like based on like real life events.
That's
that
very
shit,
true.
That was just, I found very disturbing on top of that. So on some level, I can see why you needed to pick that. But then you talking about something like, you know, a Serbian movie, which is just completely fictional, and, you know, his goal was just to sort of explore like just the most vilest parts that he can imagine. And I just wonder, okay, I'm not sure about that. Irreversible, that's a tough one to call. I mean, it was just, you know, that I didn't even quite watch it through. It was just, you know, tough to process, you know, in some levels. And I don't know. I'm not sure what that film means at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, Irreversible is sort of a meditation on, you know, the banality of evil and all that, told how about how time and things happen, and there's a reason it's told in reverse and all that. But and a Serbian film has tons of critical essays about. Personally, I don't like a Serbian film. I didn't think it was a very good film, but there are tons of essays and discussions from the filmmakers about how they were using that as a statement about what life is like inside of Serbia, where everything is corrupt and people are not valued as human beings and life is cheap and stuff like that. So I kind of take exception to the idea that these films have no artistic value or have no deeper meaning other than titillation or as pure exploitation films.
Just keep in mind, first of all, I didn't say that, just for the record.
But,
I just said I couldn't.
But you danced up to the precipice there, so I'm just saying.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying, but don't put that in my mouth.
No, I'm not.
I'm sure there's other people that are saying that. I'm just not able to process that myself, I would say.
Right. But
and like in the case of Irreversible, I would say like it's from a storytelling standpoint, I found it difficult to watch as well. It just wasn't a very it didn't flow very well either. So it was just difficult to watch. The subject was, you know, extremely horrible. And then on top of that, you know, the directing and the way it was done was also just like, you know, unpleasant. So just unpleasant overall.
I'm interested,
you know what I mean?
I'm interested if you've ever had that experience with a game.
That's what I'm saying. I've never felt that like super unpleasant.
Right.
You know, and I understand that it's sort of meant to be that way in some ways, but
yeah, very much.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
and why should art only have to be happy or positive or good? I admire those things. Those things are all valid things, I think, for filmmakers and game makers and artists of any type to discuss and have a stance on and discuss thematically and, you know, tell stories about.
And then going back to freedom of speech, if you value freedom of speech, you have to accept these things as well.
Absolutely.
So I totally get all that, but yet still hard, you know. So, but yeah, go on.
No, I just wanted to clarify. That's all. So for me, this is my field. You know, I'm the horror guy. I've seen all kinds of stuff. I find the whole idea of what gets called torture porn silly because, in the grand scheme of things, there are way worse films out there for violence and disturbing subject matter than Saw or, you know, Hostel or any of that. So, and as someone who has loved Manhunt and thinks Manhunt is a really interesting game that does some very subversive things, I get antsy whenever people start saying that, you know, this is for a sick mind or anything like that. I think that's an incredibly broad generalization and honestly a little bit insulting. I think you're allowed to not like that stuff. You're allowed to not approve of it. But when you start casting aspersions about people who enjoy something that you don't, or something like that it somehow makes them sick. I have a big problem with that, and it's really kind of a troubling point for
and
me.
Even the word enjoyment, I think, is overly simplistic, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, very
levels,
much so. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think anyone's whacking off to this shit, right?
No, yeah,
Or you hope not, anyway.
Well,
you hope not.
you know what the thing is it's like that internet saying that everything goes back to porn eventually, or sex, or whatever. And yeah, there are some very sick people out there who will latch on to things like that, and certainly, enjoy them in a way that is totally, that everybody would think is inappropriate on some level. But the vast majority of people are looking at these things, and I'm looking at it as a game. I'm looking at it as, does it have any kind of philosophy behind it? It's easy to say, well, Manhunt doesn't have a philosophy, but Manhunt does have a bit of a philosophy. If you know anything about the history of snuff cinema and the Manson family, who were supposedly making snuff films, and underground filmmaking in general, and all this stuff. So it's like, it's not something where people are sitting around and getting off on it, but there's something interesting in that, and I think it's okay to be interested in violence and why violence happens and the banality of evil and all this stuff. I find all that stuff fascinating, and it just kind of bugs me, though, that sometimes that we jump to these labels like it's something for a sick mind or something.
For me, the level of violence I'm okay with is directly proportionate to how fun the game is to me. Like, if I'm not having fun, it maybe bothers me a little bit, but if I'm having fun and it is in the theme of the game, I'm fine with it. My thing about this email, this dude, you love sniper games. You're playing a game where you are expected to shoot people in the head, sir.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you're still murdering people, whether you can see the organs or not. So to me, it just seems like this guy's squeamish because he can see the organs, but it's never bothered him before. But you're still killing people, so I don't know where the morality comes in.
And you know what's interesting about that? I would actually, to me, being squeamish about something like that is actually a good thing. I think that if you see that stuff, then it has some kind of context beyond just being mindless, desensitizing violence. If you see Irreversible, or you see a Serbian film, or you play Manhunt and you wince at some of that stuff, that's what's supposed to happen. That's how you're supposed to react to it. What scares me are the people who don't do that. But I don't know anybody who doesn't wince at that stuff. Right. I mean, as jaded as I am, as much shit as I've seen over the years I've done this, I still look at that stuff and I still go, wow, that's intense, and that's disturbing, or whatever. I appreciate it in a way that a lot of people don't, but it still has an effect. So I think that if you have an effect and you think it's disturbing, that's the point, and it works, and that means it has some kind of intrinsic value.
Mike, it's interesting you say that, and let me throw something out there, and I'm not even sure I believe this per se, but so don't judge me on it. Give me a chance to respond, in essence. But I think when I think of like the classic horror film fan, the guys lining up on the street, and you see them on camera, sticking their tongues out or whatever, right? To me, that the reason why they enjoy that film is because they want to be that guy that can say, I can stomach this shit, I can tolerate this, and yeah, you lame mainstream people can't. And that sort of makes me, that's, you know what I mean? Am I off on that? That's sort of how the horror fan kind of views themselves.
It's yeah, it is, but it's like
a badge of courage,
It's like a sign of bravado, yeah, a bravado
right.
thing, like, oh, look how tough I am, this doesn't faze me, but you know what, it really does, and there's certainly, and then there's the other level of it where you go, look, I go in and I watch Pieces, or a Serbian film, or August Underground, or some of these movies. I know they're movies. We know they're movies. We're watching them, and like, I know that's a great special effect. Yeah, that's really violent and disturbing, but hacking that guy's arm off, but it's a special effect. Now, what's a little more disconcerting to me are the people who will watch something like like the cannibal guy from Canada who had that video up for a while of him dismembering the kid or something. Like, look, I'll be the first to tell you, I've written about all those Mondo films and all those death tapes and all that stuff. I've seen all that shit. I've seen all the beheadings. I've seen all the terrible real stuff that gives people nightmares. But you know what? It always affects me when I see it. So I would never tell you that watching Daniel Pearl, get his head lopped off was something that I laughed at or wasn't fazed by. It bothered me immensely. But as someone who writes about this stuff, it's part of my gig to see it. So I find that when it's real stuff and it doesn't faze people, that's disturbing. But we're all smart people, and we all understand that this stuff is a game or a movie or real, except for a very small contingency of a group of us who have, mental issues or whatever. But there's definitely a line there. So I think it's hard to kind of talk about, you watch horror movies and that's sick and disturbing, but they're still movies. So
first of all, Mike, I just want to say.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Chief.
No, I just want to throw out there first of all, Mike. I'm really surprised and enlightened in some ways as well when you say that you're a fan of this because you do feel these things. Because like I said, I thought the stereotype was the exact opposite. So I'm kind of surprised to hear that it's not what I thought it was to begin with as well, right? So that kind of is very interesting to me. But my question to you also was in terms of, why do you feel value in subjecting yourself to that then, I suppose, because I just, I guess I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Right.
And believe me, I have in the past, I didn't see a Serbian movie, but I saw Irreversible and The Girls Next Door because I do understand that there's some value in like not hiding myself from these kind of things, but at the same time, and I've done it once and that's good enough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to repeatedly subject myself to that, So, yeah.
I can't answer for everybody, obviously. I can only answer for me. For me, there's an interest in it's almost like a philosophical thing. I have this philosophy where I'm like, if you think the worst, it can't happen. So like horror movies are like a rehearsal for the worst things that could possibly happen. So it's like when I'm not imaginative enough, I'm like, oh, if I go camping, some guy in a hockey mask is going to hack me to pieces. So, it's just one more emotion that we feel. I mean, why do we go see, dramas about the Holocaust or something like that? Those are equally upsetting. Something like The Piano or Schindler's List. Those are upsetting films as well. So I think we do it because we want to feel something and we want to stay in touch with those feelings. And when it comes to fear or horror, things like that, that's something that I would rather experience it from a film than I would in real life. So I don't ever want to experience any of this in real life.
It's interesting you bring up the imagination part. Let me get to that, but I wanted to, since I cut you off, Brad, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead, Chi. Go ahead with what you're doing. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll bring it back later.
I find the thing about the imagination thing a very interesting point because, obviously I'm from New York City, right? And I was here when 9/11 happened, right? And when 9/11 happened, I don't remember exactly what the quote from Spike Lee was, but he, sort of paraphrasing Spike Lee, is that he in some ways kind of blamed Hollywood for it because because of all those like Independence Day, of all the buildings blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like it put the idea in the terrorist's head, and it made that it sort of made it visually possible for those terrorists. I'm not sure that's 100% accurate or true, but I don't know how many New Yorkers believe that, but on some level I do believe that, you know what I mean, as a New Yorker myself. So then when the imagination becomes reality, as it did unfortunately with Dark Knight Rises, it's kind of fucking scary, to be quite honest with you. You know what I mean? So when there's real life consequences as well, that bothers me.
Well, but I mean, I hear what you're saying, Shane. Sorry to cut anybody off on this,
Yeah.
but it's like, again, it's like, is the fault the filmmaker who imagined this fictional event and put it down on a soundstage and filmed it for someone's entertainment, or is it the sick fuckers who decide to actually take that and translate it into the real world? I mean, you can't blame people for whatever it is they do that's art. I mean, it's person who's taking the action who is ultimately accountable for that. I mean, I get kind of what Spike is saying, but at the same time, I wholly disagree with that, because then where do you draw the line between, I mean, anybody could say or do anything, and then if somebody else does something that's remotely echoing it, you can't put any kind of blame on that first person. It's the person who's committing the crime.
Right.
Right,
And if we come back to that, you go, okay, so we go Independence Day for 9/11, then we got to go Catcher in the Rye was responsible for killing John Lennon. Then we have to go how many people when we got to stop the Bible, because how many people have read the Bible and twisted that around to kill people with and drawn ideas, inspiration for crimes from that. I totally get where you're coming from with that, and I get where Spike Lee is coming from with that, and there's a part of me that says, yeah, maybe this gave these guys the idea, but they were already intending to do something anyway. So I have a hard time holding artists responsible for that, for what people do with the art. I don't think as an artist you can control that.
If they hadn't gotten it from Independence Day, they'd have gotten it from something else.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I threw out Independence Day. I don't think in Spike
Right.
Lee's original quote, he wasn't blaming any particular movie, because you can't blame any one particular movie. I mean, if it wasn't Independence Day, it's something else. But it's just, like I said, for me, it's just really hard to process that in light of 9/11 and things like that.
I tell you what's really interesting about like the Aurora shooting and this whole discussion that comes up whenever these kind of things happen is that we see a lot of reaction, and I understand why, because people are upset and you need a reason for why bad things happen. And it's interesting to me though that the reactions are always, Harvey Weinstein wants to have a summit on violence in movies now, which is totally ironic given some of the movies Harvey Weinstein and his brother have released over the years. And then there's always the talk about gun control. And to me, the thing that's really interesting that we never talk about is most of these guys who do these things have some kind of mental disturbance. And this country it treats mental illness with such a stigma that we don't help people who need help like that, and these bad things happen. So it always seems like we focus on these extraneous things instead of ever getting to the heart of the real issue, is that there are just some people who have mental illnesses that our health system lets fall through the cracks because we don't have a health system and these people don't have insurance. And that's what always kind of disturbs me about these things.
I'm totally glad you brought that up, Mike, because I was actually just thinking of a story. I don't really talk about my real life job very often, and I don't want to get too far into it, but I actually do work quite a bit with people with mental illness and a lot of severe mental illness. And in fact, I knew this one guy who got up on some train tracks because he literally thought that he was Superman and he was going to stop the train with his bare hands. Mm-hmm. And it was like in all the newspapers in Seattle a while back. You can Google and look it up if you want to. But he was severely mentally ill. He literally thought he was, from Krypton or whatever. And, are you going to go back and blame like Donner for making Superman? Or are you going to go even further back and blame Siegel and Schuster for creating the character in the first place? It's really that this guy is like tragically mentally ill. He needs to be in like all these medications, and he needs to like be under constant supervision, because if it wasn't Superman, it was going to be Batman. If it wasn't Batman, it was going to be the local baseball hero. It was going to be something. Like, people like that are going to latch onto something. And I see these people all the time, and they are just constantly looking for something to trigger them off. And it's not, gun control is a whole other issue, and violence in games and films and all that stuff. We can all debate the merits of that and the value of the artistic quality of them. But I think when things happen, like the shooting in Aurora or any of the other things like 9/11, I think we're talking about people who are really sick. They've got this fundamental problem with their worldview, and they're using violence to like act that out. That is the real problem. The problem is not that somebody got in a superhero costume and made a 2-hour film about it. The problem is that somebody saw that and like they're so hurt and so broken that they interpret that as something they need to act on. And just like Mike said, I think that the way America treats mental illness is a crime. I think that we need to totally take it a lot more seriously than we do. And I can say that firsthand, but it's like, I fail to see how people can blame the media for all these things, because I'm a healthy person. We're all healthy people here. I know tons of people who watch horror movies and all kinds of porn and all kinds of stuff, and yet they're not going out committing crimes. If that stuff really had an effect, wouldn't we be like an entire nation like raping and killing and blowing each other up on a daily basis? And yet it doesn't happen. So I think really that the blame for that stuff needs to fall where it really belongs, and that's like on deeper issues than what people are exposed to.
And I'll add one other thing to it as this thought came to me as we were talking about it. And, as you can already allude to, I'm not trying to blame anything or anything like that. I'm just trying to reconcile my own, feelings and thoughts on it. I will say that I don't and unfortunately, some of these films and possibly games and things like that, unfortunately, do result in these real world consequences, as we're saying. But I don't think it's my place to criticize them. Ultimately, it's up to the artist, right? If they feel responsible and they choose to never ever do a film about this subject or whatever, then that's their call and that's their right. And for me, I'll leave it at that. I'll respect the artist's decision of whether they felt they were doing good or bad, and I'm not holding them responsible, but ultimately that's something they have to reconcile. You know what I mean?
And we've seen that firsthand. We saw Kubrick, in reaction to A Clockwork Orange in England, pulled the film years and years ago, and then we saw Stephen King wrote Rage as one of the Bachman books, which was about a school shooting before school shootings ever became such a big thing. And guys, when school shootings started happening, he thought that book was having a negative impact on the world, and he's pulled it, and you can't get it anymore. So yeah, I totally, I think that's up to the individual artist, and if they feel that what they're putting out there has that effect, then I respect their right to pull it. And I'm not saying that the media we watch doesn't affect us on some level. I think media, the games we play and things like that do affect us, obviously, but I think the vast majority of us are normal, well-adjusted people who understand the difference between fantasy and reality and don't act upon it in a negative way. And it just seems a little bit reactionary to me to start censoring things or start controlling what's acceptable in these mediums because a few people who are not well-adjusted or mentally healthy have acted upon them in a negative way, especially since I don't think removing these things would have stopped these people from going off in the first place.
And to kind of follow up on that, I totally agree with your sentiment that the artist has the right to, take back their work if they feel like it's being used properly or received improperly. But on the other side of that, I think also, the audience has large responsibility to either subscribe to a particular product or to not. I mean, if somebody puts out something that's distasteful to people and they really don't like it, then it's not going to sell. And that's the most powerful deterrent or support in the entire world. I mean, you put your money where your mouth is, and if products are coming out that people don't like, they're not going to buy them. And take, for example, the very game which started this discussion off, Sniper Elite V2, I think that people who would ordinarily be inclined to buy a sniper game would probably be really excited for the fact that, hey, look how brutal this is, look how gory this is. I like sniper action, and this is like the most hardcore sniper action out there. I'm going to buy this game because this appeals to me as a consumer. So clearly there are people out there that like that. This game wouldn't have been made if they didn't think this had a shot of hitting it. I don't think there's anything really exciting about sniping a dot at like 5,000 miles away and seeing the dot fall over. I mean, maybe somebody out there would get off on that, but I don't think that really satisfies the need of what they were going for.
Dot porn.
But yeah. So I mean, for the same reason why porn is not two people, kissing as silhouettes behind a sheet or something. It's like there's a market for that, and if the market's there, then people will put their money on it, and that supports that thing going forward. So, I think if people are really that upset about it and really believe that it's that negative or detrimental, then don't participate in it, don't support it, and it will go away.
And here's an interesting thing. I actually want to do a first here. I want to actually ask the listener a question back, and maybe he can post his response on the comments or send us his answer or whatever. But my question to him is, in some ways, isn't showing the damage that you're doing as a sniper in some ways more affecting? And if you're not comfortable with that, that means that you're sort of facing the reality of what it is to be a sniper, isn't it? Right? Mm-hmm. So why do you enjoy these sniper games, but when you're forced to, deal with the damage that you're causing, you're not okay with that? That's sort of a commentary in a way, isn't it?
I'm going to read an email from James Carter because he sums up my opinion on it really well. He says, I cannot in any way support the notion that violence in video games, hyper or otherwise, should be banned. The listener-reader pointed to violence in Sniper V2.0 and Manhunt that is over the top, unnecessary, or that serves no real purpose, but these are not absolute terms. In fact, they are entirely subjective. I recently replayed Manhunt, and while there were scenes that made me decidedly uncomfortable, I found it interesting to be able to challenge my own values and morals with a game that includes what I consider to be extreme content. Films such as Requiem for a Dream or Schindler's List may be difficult and upsetting to watch, but there's value in such works of expression. Ideally, I would like to see ratings boards provide ample information on the content of a video game, such that your correspondent, myself, or any other individual can choose for themselves whether they wish to play it. Likewise, if a video game goes beyond what the majority of its prospective audience feel is acceptable in terms of violence or any other type of content, then it will fail to sell. This is a self-correcting action and means that the banning of a game is thankfully very rare. And I think he summed it up perfectly. That's James Carter that wrote that.
And we should say before we go any further, we had to actually edit that for length. So James, we know that we didn't get your whole email in there, but we felt like that was a good representation of what you're saying. So hopefully you will agree with that. But we did have to edit that email.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think that sort of echoes what you were saying as far as the extreme content size, that, in terms of pushing your values and things like that, right?
Right. Yeah. He's pretty much on the same page as me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think he's on the same page as, well, I won't speak for everybody. Me too. He's on the same page as me too.
You can't speak for you, Dylan. Come on.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
This is the most challenging show ever.
In so many ways.
I think James more or less did get it right, so I mean he kind of speaks for me too.
It's like episode 77, The Minefield. I don't know. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to go as far as this discussion? Any other places you wanted to go in this discussion? Or
I want to thank the guy who wrote in. I'm sorry, I forgot his name.
His name's Jeroen.
Jeroen. I'm sorry, I mispronounced it. Thank him for taking the time to write us, and we don't. And I don't entirely see eye to eye with his viewpoint, but I do think it made for some interesting discussion and contentious at times and intense, and that's good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I hope he respects the fact that we were not trying to be dismissive in any shape, way, or form of what he was saying, and I really do hope that he answers my question.
Yeah, right back in. I don't agree with you, but I respect that you wrote in and took the time to, it was, I can tell you put a lot of thought into it. I can respect that. But I think you shouldn't be playing games where you shoot people in the head if you have a problem with violence. Okay.
Wasn't there a second email also?
There was a second email. I will read that as well. This is from Darren Foreman. I can only speak from my own experience on this issue, and that issue is that of someone who cheerfully digested movies such as Commando and RoboCop from the age of 8. Yeah! Yet somehow grew up despising real-world violence and the inequalities of modern life. At no point did I ever wish to grow twin-mounted machine guns jutting out from my arms and nonchalantly blow OCP executives into a pile of bloody mulch while a disapproving boss shook his head in the background. Well, not seriously anyway. Can we have this guy on the show? This guy's hilarious. It's the same deal with video games. When Mortal Kombat rolled into town, I never thought about tearing off someone's head and holding it aloft while the severed spine swung around underneath like a depressed tapeworm. I never played Streets of Rage, wishing that I could actually be Blaze, fielding and stab some dude in the face with a broken bottle as I wandered down the street smacking a bunch of seemingly genetically cloned thugs in the face. Call me malevolent. I can't read tonight. Call me a malevolent manifestation of darkness if you like, but I find the idea of casually banning anything that anyone might conceivably find offensive to be a very slippery slope. It seems everywhere you look, there's a sweaty, half-naked man beating his chest and screaming about how something is shit and awful and should be banned because they personally don't like it. I love this guy.
Darren is great, and I want to just say also that we did have to edit that email as well, and also, if we were to really do justice to that email, it should have been read in a very rich Scottish accent. And I got to say, when you hear Darren talking, it makes everything sound 10 times funnier. I mean, he's funny to start with, but it's just.
I'm sorry, I probably butchered that email from the reading, but yeah, that was again a well thought out email. We have intelligent fans and listeners.
We do.
It makes me happy. Does anybody else want to add anything to this conversation before we move to thumbs up, thumbs down?
I just want to also thank Jeroen for writing in, and thank also James and Darren for writing in, and I really appreciate everybody's contributions. And this is, I mean, as we have seen here, very difficult stuff. It's really hard to talk about without feelings running high on all sides. And I really appreciate the fact that, number one, that we can have that discussion here on the Game Critics podcast, and I'm also thankful that people out there actually want to hear what we have to say about it. So I'm kind of honored in that sense. So hopefully we've done the subject justice in some small way. So.
And I would add that I don't think any of us are like 100% locked into our viewpoint about any of this stuff. We're all interested in talking about it and thinking about it and, other viewpoints of it and things like that. So it's, maybe if we miss something here and you comment on it, you might post a comment that makes me change my thinking completely. So, it's not a closed topic by any means for us.
Yeah, and Jeroen, definitely write back and answer Chief's question and add anything, because I'm not sure that I completely got what your meaning in the email was. So definitely write us back. And we are going to be back in a second with thumbs up, thumbs down, so stay with us. We are back with thumbs up, thumbs down at the end of the show where it belongs, unlike last time. Richard, let's start with you.
Sure. I just have one this week, and it is a proper thumb up, not a sideways, and I'm not giving two thumbs to the same thing. It is just one thumb to one thing.
Good to see you following the rules, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
I follow nobody's rules. This is totally my decision. But thumbs up to Dark Knight Rises. I saw it a few days ago. It was actually it got some really early negative press that I saw, and it was actually kind of funny because there was one critic, or maybe several critics, I'm not even sure, that got like a huge amount of flack from it about a negative review for that from people that could not have possibly seen the movie at that point, which was hilarious and saddening at the same time. But I saw it. I thought it was good. I thought that the first half of the movie was very rushed. They had to fit a lot of stuff into there, but there's a certain point right when the second act starts and it clicks, and then it moves from there. And I thought it ended very well, and so I was satisfied.
So, and you ducked me on Facebook on this, Richard, but I said
I did?
Yeah, because I wrote you on your Facebook comment about it. I thought it was sort of the exact opposite. I thought for me the first half played a lot better, and the second half really felt rushed, just considering all the content they were cramming in to that. So I'm kind of surprised that you felt that way, and I wanted to hear that, but I'm not sure if we can get into that without too many spoilers or whatnot.
Well, first I want to say I'm sorry I didn't see that on Facebook,
okay.
But it's explaining and it is difficult to talk about it without spoilers, but explaining what Bane's plan actually is and why they're coming to Gotham City is during the first half, before they make a connection to something else in the Batman canon. That gets kind of messed up because you don't really know why Bane is there.
Yeah, I get that. They kind of dance over that, but I'm just saying in general, the film is very easy flowing for the first half in terms of just introducing the characters, and I love how they, bring in like Catwoman just as like a cat burglar, not like a Catwoman, like with an actual, ears or cat ears or anything like that. She's just sort of like, almost like she's like a specialist or something, which I think was a really good way of doing that. Yeah. But I'm just saying at the end, once it approaches the climax, they just cram in so much stuff, so much revelation as well, right? Didn't you think that was rushed?
I didn't, and I know the revelation you're talking about, because believe it or not, I didn't actually see it coming.
Yeah, but even regardless of the revelation, which was a lot in of itself, but there's also like all this stuff happening as far as like, you know what I'm talking about when they.
To me, that stuff flowed a lot better than it did in the first half. I mean, I can't. It's difficult for me to explain why, but it's like it felt more coherent at that point. It's like it's like there's a certain point where the movie just sort of like clicks, and then it starts firing on all cylinders from that point on.
But you get what I'm saying about the sheer amount of content at the end, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I think you guys need to do a spoiler-filled Game Critics After Dark episode about the Batman movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's an interesting discussion. Richard, any more thumbs up, thumbs downs?
No, that was it. Oh, no, wait. I got one other one. Thumbs up mostly to Mega Man and Bass. It is the only entry in the classic Mega Man series that I actually had not played, and for the most part, it's pretty damn good. It might be the most challenging game in the classic series, actually, like even more than like Mega Man 1 and 2. I've just beat it yesterday, and it's a good game. It's a good Mega Man game if you like Mega Man, and you can get a copy of it for the Game Boy Advance. I think you can find it on Amazon for like $30, and I'd say it's worth it.
Okay, cool. So Mega Man and Bass?
Mega Man and Bass.
All
It's
right.
not numbered. It's just Mega Man and Bass.
Sounds like some kind of hip hop video game fusion project.
That's honestly, that's what it kind of sounds like to me at the first time I ever heard it.
Mega Man and Rob Bass, who came to
There
get
you
down.
go.
Mike,
It
thumbs
takes two.
It does. Mike, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Just one thumbs up this week, which is kind of funny considering what we just talked about. My thumbs up is for Hostel 3. Direct to DVD is usually a kiss of death for any kind of film, especially when you're up to the third installment in a series. But Hostel 3 not only has that dubious distinction against it, it also lost Eli Roth and has a new director in the form of Sam Raimi's old buddy Scott Spiegel. But surprisingly enough, Hostel 3 manages to subvert your expectations at almost every turn. Every time you see a scene in this movie that you think, I know exactly where this is going, it veers off in some subtle little way into something different. It's not a great film. It's not as good as the original Hostel or even as good as Hostel 2, and there's no cool cameo like Takashi Miike or Ruggero Deodato or Edwidge Finch or anything like that in it. But for a direct-to-DVD fare that you can stream on Netflix some night when you're bored, it's moderately entertaining, which was more than I was expecting. So thumbs up to that, and check it out if you like horror flicks.
Would it be good because without Eli Roth and being direct to DVD, I expect it to be a horrible movie. But would it still be good if you were expecting a decent horror movie?
It depends. If you like the first two Hostels, I think you will find things to enjoy in this one. It's not nearly as gory, which was surprising to me given that Scott Spiegel was involved in it. But and it doesn't have any of Scott Spiegel's typically insane, crazy camera shots like from inside a phone or in your shopping cart or any of that like he did in Intruder. But yeah, I mean, look, it's not a 5-star movie. Right. It's barely a 3-star movie. But when you go in and you're like, oh my God, this is the third movie in a franchise that went direct to DVD now, and especially after you just watched the latest Hellraiser with the fake Pinhead, the fat guy as Pinhead, or the Last Children of the Corn movie, which are absolutely just fucking unwatchable flicks. It's actually decent and entertaining. Sort of like Quarantine 2 was earlier this year, pleasantly surprising for direct-to-DVD fare.
And you said it's streaming on Netflix right now?
Streaming on Netflix. You can check it out for free.
That's worth it then, I think.
Yeah, kill 90 minutes. I mean, if you hate it, you're out 90 minutes. But, you find something fun in it, I think.
I'm going to give a thumbs up, and I never thought I would do this. I was avoiding it for so long, but I finally broke down and got PlayStation Plus for 3 months. And I assumed I would hate it, but I don't have GameFly. I don't buy very many games, so I figured it would be a way to play some free games. And I've really enjoyed it. I've been playing a lot of Little Big Planet 2, and I've downloaded what's that Gotham City game, the first-person shooter that just came out? Gotham City Imposters? Yeah, I haven't played that yet, but I downloaded it. So I don't know. I think it's worth it. It was only $20 for 3 months. There's a lot of discounts on games, and you get a lot of free games. And I've enjoyed it a lot so far. So for me, thumbs up to PlayStation Plus.
Hey Dylan, I've never got a straight answer on this, but if you let your PS Plus run out, let me know if all your free games vanish when that goes. I think it does.
I think it does too. I'm wondering that because when I downloaded Little Big Planet 2, it said if you buy any extra content for the game, you'll have to once the PlayStation Plus runs out, you'll have to rebuy the game to use the content.
Yeah.
What? Really?
But I assume if you buy a discounted price game, it won't go it won't.
But how much is 3 months of PlayStation
Like $20.
Plus?
It's not bad. How much is?
Yeah, so why shouldn't you? Why if you buy a year or whatever?
How much is a year?
Yeah,
That's what I was-
you're paying enough to
$40.
buy that game. You should get that game. That's crazy.
But you're getting a lot of games for play. I don't know. To me, it's worth it. I guess to each their own. I don't know. I'll probably renew in 3 months and spend another $20.
Are you gonna get the full year?
I might. I've been enjoying it so far. So I'm happy with it. So.
Another reason why I hate digital games. If I buy it, they can't ever take it away.
Yeah, I don't like the digital game where that's going either, but I'm happy with PlayStation Plus. I knew what I was getting when I paid the $20, and I'm happy with it. So, thumbs up, thumbs down, Brad Gallaway.
Okay, fair enough. I think no thumbs down this time around, but I got a couple of thumbs up. I'm just going to kind of continue the general movie theme that we had this time around. Thumbs up to Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah.
I just saw this. Yeah, you like this too, Mike, right?
Yeah, I think I thumbed up it a long time ago, actually.
Did you really?
You did.
I think I did.
It's a repeat
Yeah.
thumb? Oh, man. Well, I double thumb that then. For those of you who don't remember, this is a very clever tale of, it seems like your typical group of teenagers going in the woods and they're going to meet these hillbillies out there. But it turns out that the hillbillies are the normal people and the teenagers are like these whack jobs. And the whole series of misunderstandings that happens between the two groups is it's fucking hilarious. It's really funny. It's also a little bit on the bloody side. It's actually bloodier than I thought it was going to be, but that was fine with me because I got a pretty high tolerance for that kind of stuff.
Is the premise? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say it was funny and it was clever, and I really like Tyler Labine, who plays one of the rednecks, and also what's the guy from Firefly who's in that? The other
Alan
guy.
Tudyk.
Yeah,
I like him.
They're both really good. I mean, everybody's really good. It's just, my wife and I watched it for our date night, and we both really laughed and just had a really good time with it. So total thumbs up to that movie. You were gonna say something, Dylan?
I was just gonna ask: is the premise that each side thinks the other side is like some sort of monster, or is that completely off base?
No, basically what happens is like the group of teenagers goes into the woods. They're expecting all the rednecks and the hillbillies to be like cannibals and rapists and stuff. But then the hillbillies that are up there, they buy a vacation home and they're like, well, we're just going up to fix up our home and do some fishing. And it's just like the way that they're perceived, like the hillbillies think the kids are like just really excitable and crazy and stupid. And the kids think that they're like psychopaths. So like every single thing the hillbillies do is like misinterpreted to be like this threat or like them acting like, bloodthirsty killers. And It's pretty clever the way they flip it around, and I just thought it was fucking funny.
It's like a horror movie version of Three's Company, basically. You know how Three's Company, every episode revolved around some stupid misunderstandings? Yeah. It's exactly like that, except with rednecks and high school kids and horror movie trappings.
I've got it on my instant queue. I'm gonna have to watch it.
Oh, you have to watch it. It's hysterical.
Oh, it's good. It's definitely worth it. So that was my doubling thumb, Mike's thumb from way long time ago. So good call on that one, Mike, for sure. The other one, getting away from games still, I'm going to go to comics this time. Thumbs up to the resurgence of a couple of comics from way long time ago in the 90s. Valiant, I don't know if anybody remembers Valiant comics. They were put out by Jim Shooter. You what?
They were one of the key contributors to crashing the comic collectible market.
They were. Yeah, it was terrible. It's funny because Jim Shooter was the guy who was behind Valiant, and I actually had met Jim one time, and I thought he was a really cool guy, and then I thought Valiant was really going to go places, and man, it crashed and burned, and like you said, it dragged down comics with it, and they can't take all the blame, but they were a big player in how shitty things got in the 90s for comics. But anyway, I think actually the entire Valiant line just came back a couple of months ago, and I'm not a fan of all of them, but I really liked X-O Manowar, and it wasn't a great comic back then. It's not a great comic now, but I think the premise is cool, and I just am a big fan of cool armor, and the thought that there's this Middle Ages warrior who stumbles into this super high tech suit of armor is kind of a cool dichotomy for me. So X-O Manowar is back. Not great, but it's good. It's good enough for me. But the one that really was great was Bloodshot. And I don't know if anybody remembers Bloodshot, but he was a soldier who had nanites in his blood, and he could I don't know, just heal stuff, and he could whatever nanites do
himself,
for you.
Yeah. It's not the
like
obvious
that.
answer, Brad.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the book back then, but the first issue just came out, and I got to say, it was one of the best first issues I've read in a while. I was really impressed. It grabbed me right away. It told me what I needed to know plenty of action, and it really had like this really cool twist at the end that made me think, oh, I want to hurry up and read number 2. And I haven't had that feeling in a long time. Like usually, comics these days, I drop $2.50, $3, $4, $5 for a comic. I read it, and I'm like, whatever is okay. Maybe I'll read the next one, maybe I won't, no big deal. But this one, I was like, man, I really want to see what happens next. So thumbs up to this quasi-resurgence of Valiant with Exo Man of War and Bloodshot. And I'm done.
All right. Chi, your thumbs, please.
Sure. Big thumbs down to Big Money Sports and the whole Jeremy Lin situation and the way that all played out.
Yeah.
It's just really sad. And I don't blame Jeremy Lin for taking the money. I don't blame the Knicks for taking a pass. I ultimately have to blame Big Money Sports. And it's just really sad for the fans when you have this great story and, everything that sports should represent. And the guy can't even stay on his own fucking team. It's unbelievable. Just a big smack in the face for fans. But yeah, it is what it is. And I've since moved on, but I just wanted to give a thumbs up anyway. Thumbs down, rather, anyway. Several thumbs up. Quick thumbs up to the Circle Pad Pro for the 3DS. I have yet to even use the extra analog pad, but I love the way the 3DS feels in my hand with it, that I just keep it on all the time anyway, regardless of whatever game I'm playing. And I'm kind of sad that I haven't explored this option more often in terms of just buying some other kind of grip. Like, so anyone who's ever had like a hand cramp playing a portable system, do not hesitate to try a grip, because I was just kind of like blown away at how good it felt once it was in the Circle Pad Pro.
So it's worth
I think I'm getting an XL.
Well, I was going to give a thumbs down to that, by the way, but yeah. That wasn't actually my thumbs. I totally forgot about that, but since you brought it up, let's give a thumbs down to the 3DS XL. I mean, what the hell, man? Why couldn't they just fucking put the extra analog stick to it? I just don't understand. And now they're talking about how they're going to put another add-on for the extra analogs. That's going to make that the size of the iPad, for God's sakes, man. And they're already saying like the pixelization, and I didn't like the DSXL because of how horribly pixelated the graphics looked when it was like interpolated up. And they're already, the developers were already talking about, or one of the Nintendo guys are already saying it doesn't look that bad, which isn't a big ringing endorsement to me. Like he says it looks okay, so I'll see. I mean, unless the screen looks gorgeous, I'm not even coming close to touching that thing.
I hear the DS games look crappy on it.
Yeah. Well, that's not a good thing either, because I still use as I was playing with Pokemon Conquest. Anyway, my other thumbs up. Two sort of tribute thumbs up. One, my first tribute thumbs up goes to sort of you guys for Breaking Bad. I started on Breaking Bad now.
All right.
I'm on season 2, middle of it, pretty hooked. Not quite ready to proclaim it the greatest show ever, but I'm definitely enjoying it, having a good time. Yeah, I'm still early, I guess. Yeah, I marathoned season 1 on one night and didn't sleep.
Oh, wow.
So that's the shortened season, like 7 episodes, but yeah. And my other tribute thumbs up goes to Sherman Hemsley, who passed away recently. I grew up watching The Jeffersons, was a big fan, and it was just kind of sad to see him pass away.
Yeah, second on that, man. I watch The Jeffersons all the time. I'm
Same.
sad to hear that.
Yeah.
Did you see that article I linked?
I saw the headline. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know
you
if
should
there's
read that
anything more
article.
to the article.
It's hysterical.
Why don't you read the quote from the
It's basically an article about how Sherman Hemsley was a big fan of prog rock band Gong in the 70s, who had a song, I forget, it was a Flying Teacups or something along those lines, and he was like a big star, and he wanted the guy from Gong to come visit him in LA, and the guy came, and he like told reporters about how Sherman Hemsley lived in his house he had like Puerto Ricans making LSD in the basement, and there was a sign on the inside of the front door that says, "Don't answer the door, it might be the man." And he had like all these crazy people around living in this big house, and they played like crazy prog rock all day and like hung out and smoked weed and stuff. It was like the craziest story. But yeah, we love George Jefferson. What a loss that was.
Jesus, that sounds completely fucking insane.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
hysterical when you read
I never would have guessed. Never would have guessed.
Yeah, no.
I find it hilarious that, just as you just said, the headlines all said, George Jefferson is dead, not Sherman Hemsley's dead, but George Jefferson.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have any more thumbs up?
That's
Cheater?
it for me. That's it for me.
All right. Well, you can download us on iTunes. You can go to GameCritics.com and listen to us there. You can like us on Facebook, Game Critics. For Chi Kong Lu, Brad Gallaway, Mike Bracken, and Richard Nyack, I am Dylan Collins. Good night and game on.
You did it, Dylan.